Okay, well, as Carl mentioned, my name is Jeff Wouters. I'm never gonna let you lift that down. So, the session is about PSScriptAnalyzer. Who has never heard about it? This is the right audience, great. And Rob, why are you? You know about it.
I'm going to encourage you to we use shotgun technique.
Okay.
They're a really quiet audience. I don't put their hands up. Go ask them questions.
So that's just basically my information. I'm an MVP for 6 years now. So the PolarConf tweeted like, hey, we've got Jeff Wouters from the Netherlands, 5-year MVP. So I replied, nah, 6 years, but hey, who's counting? I'm a trainer and part of the Azure Advisor community. If you want to join the Azure Advisor community, I believe you can. You can request, and you don't have to be an MCT or MVP to join. So Microsoft is generally looking for very wide feedback, from sysadmins to trainers to architects, anybody. And as you can see behind my name, I'm a learnaholic. Technically, I'm a psychologist. So, yeah, what I'm doing in IT, I don't know. So why should you want good code? Any takers? Take a little step back. What is good code? The one criteria for good code. Does it work? Yes, it's good code. Can it be better? Probably. My code too. 9 out of 10 times it's not good code. Well, it is good code, but it works. But yeah, if somebody else needs to use it, then they'll probably abuse it in a way that I didn't intend it to. So, oh, by the way, before I forget, there's one thing I always do. Smile for my girlfriend. Thank you. Not you, she knows you. And consistent code. The first time I did this session, I named it PSOCD. PowerShell OCD. I like my code to be consistently indented with either spaces or tabs. I don't care. I do use tabs, but I don't care what you choose as long as you choose it consistently. I'll show you some code later in this session that is just plain bad code. And it took me quite a long time to write bad code. Pretty code. Also part of the demo later on, but I was at a customer troubleshooting about 400 lines script. And I couldn't find it because they were using aliases in there and positional parameters and a whole bunch of stuff that you're not supposed to do in scripts. On the command line, hey, go ahead. Whatever makes you productive. If it's a script, please don't. Because my mind was working so hard converting all the aliases to commandlets, what parameter are they using there, etc. that I couldn't find the bug, basically. It ended up being a logical error. It wasn't lesser or equal than, it was lesser than. A very small thing. So I found on the Hey Scripting Guy website a script to run through a script and replace all the aliases with proper command names and the positional parameters with the proper parameter name, and then it took me about 15 minutes to figure it out. So that was 4 hours of my life I would never get back because somebody wrote crappy code. Correction, not pretty code. So that's where PSScriptAnalyzer, PSScriptAnalyzer comes in. PSScriptAnalyzer basically does linting. Does your code does your code conform to certain coding standards? Is your indenting consistent? Is your indenting either spaces or tabs or whatever you choose? There are scripting analyzer rules that you can perhaps even configure. Do you want to scan your code for tabs or spaces? Do you want trailing spaces at the end of a line? Do you want those removed? Do you want positional parameters or not? That's all configurable through the PSScriptAnalyzer. It is all based on best practices. So, has anybody ever read the book PowerShell Best Practices? I believe from Ed Wilson. So, best practices in code are, people discuss a lot about it. Because what is a best practice for a sysadmin could be a bad practice for a coder, for a developer. Sysadmins in general are pretty practical and pragmatic people. They want it to work, done. And a developer, 9 out of 10 times, includes error handling and logging and verbose logging, debugging logging, etc. When the sysadmin only wants to create a single AD user. Just one time, that's it. So he goes to command prompt, new AD user, a few parameters, hits enter, the user is there. And a developer should approach, now we need to do this and then this and then this and quite elaborate. Both are good approaches in their own situations. So best practice, there are some best practices that in general everybody agrees on. Like I said, aliases are considered a bad practice. But if you have select object or where object, then it is technically allowed as a best practice to use select or where, although they are aliases. So they are not consistent in their rule. And that's why my OCD goes off. I want consistency. So that's up for debate. Demo time. And as I walked around the city yesterday, I found out that apparently the Finnish culture is very into music and movie references. In my hotel, I stay in the 4th floor. So there's a little sign above the elevator button that says, "May the 4th be with you." And throughout the city, I found quotes like that. I even went to a toilet where the male toilet said 99 problems. That's all I'm saying. So I love that kind of humor. Apparently Mike does too. So let's go to the demo. They used my go away. That one. Oop. Here we go. First we have to explain the AST, Abstract Syntax Tree. It is basically the thing that makes PowerShell understand PowerShell. So the AST understands what a script is, what a help command block is, what a normal command block is, what a parameter is, what a parameter attribute is. There's an entire tree of objects. And as a developer, you could write through C# such a tree and then say, hey, generate the script, the PowerShell code from this tree. There we go. Well, I hope. Yeah, this is the wrong location. PowerShell. There we go. I'm not having the best day. There we go. There. It works. If we execute these lines, then we get the AST variable is filled now, and this is the AST for my AD health check script. So the problem is that it also puts the entire script in it. So when we go to the top, it's actually too big. Pipe it to get member. You get a begin block. Does the script itself have attributes? An end block, a parameter block. Oh, there we go. Process block. And the beauty about this is that it recognizes also functions in there, workflows, and anything PowerShell the AST understands and can interpret. When you think about this, no, this doesn't work. You can also use this method of figuring out which parameters there are. At the end of this session, I'll show you a project I've been working on, and that will be available to the community once it's finished. And that is a little bit of an announcement, but because it's free, I don't see it as marketing stuff. Let's take a look at this one. Yeah, there. I've got my AD health check, and my batch script we'll use later on. But first of all, I've got my script analyzer rules. When we take a look at those are natively available in the PSScriptAnalyzer. These are some of the rules that are here. For example, there's a rule of you have to provide help. It is a best practice that if you write functions, you put some help in there for your colleagues to understand what you're doing. You should use approved verbs. So, who can tell me how you can find the approved verbs? Get verb, correct. Or what? Look online, but yeah, get verb is pretty safe. So, all of those rules are available online in the PSScriptAnalyzer module in the PS Gallery. And the PSScriptAnalyzer over time grew a little. On the top you see the date, and this is a tool that analyzes a GitHub repository and looks for all the changes and visualizes this with usernames behind it, and has this become a module or a logging entry or all of this. Now, this is visualized what happened over time with the PSScriptAnalyzer. As you can see, there is done quite a bit of refactoring. Because in general, the first version of something is just a huge monolith in general. Just make it work first and then make it pretty. This is up to November 2015. After that, there has been about a year, 1.5 years, very little improvements in there. And then they picked it up again. One major improvement is the fix parameter, which basically means there are some PSScriptAnalyzer rules that can scan, give you results like, hey, this is wrong with your code and this is wrong with your code. And we'll take a look at that right now. If we take a look at the PSScriptAnalyzer rule for PS avoid trailing white spaces, what does this rule do? Well, The title should explain it. The description, each line should have no trailing white spaces. Who doesn't know what trailing white spaces are, by the way? Good. So if you invoke this rule, and I got a pipe sign here, but that's useless. What happened? Did I mess it up? Oh, I know what I did. What I did, I've downloaded this little zip. The AD health check this I started this years ago, and an American friend of mine took this project over. He improved upon it, expanded upon it, and this is basically it. So what I'm working now on is some code to basically scan a VSTS or GitHub code repository. And for each file and for each rule, it will create a commit with the code improvements so somebody can review and test, etc. I've tried it at a customer of mine that had more than 120,000 lines of code, and they kindly asked me not to do it again. No. Don't look at this, there's corporate stuff. Here we go. No, wrong location. The PowerShell Script replace. Just to be safe. Run. There we go. There we go. This is the output you get. Basically telling me at what line I screwed up. So, pretty useful information. However, if we were to remove all those spaces, what improvement would I get? Are there certain spaces removed? If so, how shorter does my code become? Well, as I mentioned, some rules have a fix parameter. I'll show you in a few minutes how you can figure out which ones. And in this case, let's fix it. Of course. That's what you get when working with production code. I'm messing up today. Paste. Replace. Execute. Yay! So basically, this was the amount of characters it had before I ran the script. This was after, and this is the difference. So it actually removed 503 trailing white spaces. That's it. Nothing fancy. However, if you take a look at rules in general, if I take the PS avoid trailing white spaces rule, then I know that the fix parameter works with that one. So how can I figure out which rule offers me a fix Oh, and it doesn't have anything to fix anymore. So I had to ask the MVP, the PowerShell team about this. This property, suggested corrections. If it's empty, then the rule can't fix it. There's no fix option that will work. If it has an entry, so it isn't null, then sure, you can use it to fix. So here's the funny thing. If we fix everything, all the rules I have, if it has a fix option, fix it. Oh. And just to show you, this takes a minute because I'm running all the rules. And then you'll see that the suggested correction at some of the rules is empty. But because for a demo I've chosen a script about 4,000 lines of code, maybe not the best choice, then it takes some time. There we go. Here is a column on the right that has the value for suggested item, and there we go. For some of the rules, there's an entry in there. So now that we know this, you could filter on it if you want to. If we fix everything, so include rule asterisk. What do you think? Will the code become larger or shorter? Any takers? Larger? Anybody for shorter? Serious? Nobody for shorter? You've still got time to figure out if you're wrong. Nobody for shorter? Because you're right. It also replaces aliases. It does code indenting. A whole bunch of stuff. Removing trailing white spaces is just one feature, and it isn't that interesting actually. The interesting stuff is making the code more readable. So in this case, 503 items extra. So it grew. So, like I mentioned, it took me some time to write a bad script. This is a really bad script. Who does not agree with me? What does this do? All the MVPs and former MVPs, shut up. What does this do? Any takers? No? Really? No? Well, let's fix it. There we go. Bad script. Invoke. It is fixed. Again. It partially fixed it because it isn't perfect yet. And the beauty about this, it is extendable. You can write your own PSScriptAnalyzer rules. We've done the same. We've posted them online in GitHub, and I've been working on a few new ones. But my work doesn't allow me to spend a lot of time on it, so it's a slow work in progress. But the whole point here, you shouldn't use aliases. because nobody had any idea what was going on here. Luckily, this one, WH, stands for what if. Whenever you download code from the internet and you're like, I'm not entirely sure what this is going to do, please run it one time with one what if. Just to make sure what it does. And I'll show you why, because there's always somebody that doesn't do it. This would have been the end of my demo, if I didn't do what if. Maybe Windows would be running, but I can really tell you that it won't be stable. So, one other reason, years ago, I tweeted one little line of code. This is great on domain controllers. With some different code behind it. Not this. And I just started my psychology education, so I was like, okay, what can we assume here? People trust me. Why? I have no idea. Okay. So they're gonna try my code. And I say this is great on domain controllers, so they're gonna try it on domain controllers. That's number 2 assumption. If they try it on domain controllers, they're probably domain admin. Assumption number 3. Assumption number 4, how many admins do have a development test exploitation environment? What are the chances they're going to do this on production? Any takers? So, assumption, they're going to do it in production. I lost 14 followers that day because what the code did was, hey, I'm on domain controller. Who are my brothers and sisters domain controller? Yes, everybody is present. 1, 2, 3, shut down. If you do that in production, apparently then I'm the bad guy. Well, technically, yes, but also no. You're stupid. You shouldn't trust me. You shouldn't trust anybody. If you get code that you haven't written, understand it before you execute it. If not, I'll gladly send you a link where you can download some code. And trust me, don't trust me. Have you ever seen the video by Lee Holmes? Wait a sec. I'll just stop my for 1 minute. If I can find the code, yeah, there it is. It's one line of code, and if you have an internet connection, it's the most awesome demo why you should not trust the internet. Everybody laughing already knows what's coming. Duplicate, there we go. I've got a little bit of code in my copy-paste now. I'll put my sound on. What could this possibly do? Why you should not trust code from the internet. This has nothing to do with pretty code, by the way, but well, it is pretty once you see it. It's awesome how they did it, but so, pretty code, right? It's nicely indented and yeah. So I'll tweet it. And I'll tag the original writer of the script also in it, so you can thank him.
Even Jeffrey Spilker makes a reference to it why write
Yeah. Oh, by the way, that's a little thing. Write host in PowerShell version 5.1 or 2 is now just an alias for write information. So write host with pretty colors and stuff, no more. Finally, it took them long enough. Yeah. So, like I mentioned, PSScriptAnalyzer is extendable. There are a few rules and guidelines. They are very well documented on the PSScriptAnalyzer GitHub page. The output type should always be a diagnostic record array. It accepts an AST token as parameter with the name, surprise, surprise, token. You have a process block, and in this, the magic happens. You can do anything in there, what you want. But as a result, always have a PSScriptAnalyzer generic diagnostic record. I haven't figured out yet how to automatically make the fix parameter work. Well, my estimation is that it's very well documented again, but I haven't at the time yet. So what this script does is measure over comment. Especially developers tend to comment their code, which is a very good practice, by the way. However, if the amount of code, comment code, is more than 80% of your actual code, you might want to think what the hell you're doing. So this will probably be configurable or something, but the intention here is that I want to educate people, and PSScriptAnalyzer really is useful for that. There we go. Tester. It is used intentionally, it is to be used for unit testing. However, you can use it for quite a lot of other stuff. So, what I've done in the past was, for me, writing tester tests was easier than writing PSScriptAnalyzer rules. So, what I did was create a tester test for, hey, is there help in my function? If not, the test fails. Is my company name in the comments? Stuff like that. Really basic stuff. So, a lot of those tester tests I had, I rewrote to PSScriptAnalyzer rules, either publicly or privately currently. But tester was also extended into the operation validation framework, where you can basically test your infrastructure if it complies with your PowerShell code. So basically test the end result. And my recommendation for this is use it in your pipeline, CI/CD pipeline. Use your PSScriptAnalyzer in it. I would not recommend to use the automatic fix option there. Maybe you want to use that on your laptop itself, check in the new code and let it do its thing. But using the results as feedback to the developer, yeah, because the intention is to educate them. Oh, and a thing, if you like to indent with spaces and you like to indent with tabs, you should, I think, work the way you are most productive. But as a company, you may want to have a single format towards the world. So in your pipeline, you are formatting all the code conform your company standards, and when the code becomes public, it is nice and consistent. So, you can do it too. Install module PSScriptAnalyzer, and you get the PSScriptAnalyzer with the default rules provided by Microsoft. Tester you can install, and that's a whole different topic, not included in this session. And we've posted some PSScriptAnalyzer rules that we created. If you want to use them, go ahead. If you have improvements, we do accept pull requests. Are there any questions so far?
What about the speech part? If there are multiple assessments of the speeches, which one does the speech?
All of them. It will basically run through a script per rule. So rule 1 fixes everything it can, and then rule 2 comes along, and rule 3, rule 4.
I mean, one rule that has multiple assessments.
So one rule finds multiple faults in the script.
Multiple fixes.
Multiple fixes? Oh, no. The way you write a rule is you have one thing you check on and you have one solution for that. If only. Maybe when they introduce artificial intelligence for this, but would be nice. You could do it?
Yeah, one is
Yeah. Yeah. Talking about this, you saw me using VS Code here. And if we take a look at this code, VS Code also has a format document or format selection option. It's not already pretty now, but if we maybe this one, yeah, over here it did one little thingy, but basically that's a quick way, before you check in your code, Control A, format selection, and you've got everything indented, conform the best practices. What? You do it a lot.
I do it a lot.
So, that's just, I think there's a balance in automating this process and making developers do it properly. Either you give them and use them, let them use the tools for that. I don't think that automation should be the solution for everything. What? Seeing the results of technical debt is a solution. It's a start. After that becomes because you can only, what was it again? Once you understand that you have a problem, you can work on it. From what was it? AA? Yeah. Anonymous Alcoholics? Yeah. Me neither. Yep. Yep. So, are there any questions on this? Really? No questions? I just ate, I won't bite. May shoot, but I won't bite.
Just following up, I guess, I know you're saying, automation being something, but is there something to be said for, I always like to think when I build a pipeline, trust but verify.
Yeah.
Which is I'm gonna run these checks, whether there's something like PolarConf or Script Analyzer, some kind of linter there. But I also believe you need to enable people to do them, because you're kind of a jerk if you're going to test something they can't test locally, right? You know what I mean? Like if I'm not giving you that capability, so like,
yeah.
have you seen people do like a pre-commit hook or something like that for the same, to run those same scripts so that when I commit before I push it up,
Yeah.
so that it'll run, so at least I'm seeing it locally, I can fix it before I push it to the pipeline?
It is what I do, personally.
That's what you
So,
do for what-
as a PowerShell developer, I run the PSScriptAnalyzer rules that I either use myself or my customer is using. It differs in general per customer, if they're using them at all or which rules they use. And based on that customer, I test my code before check-in first. I correct my code and then I check it in. So that I know that the pipeline will not complain about my code regarding the script analyzer rules. Maybe about other stuff, probably about other stuff, but not about that.
Are there some like tips you would have for helping enable software engineer or developer, people who are, or whoever it is, just people who are that are contributing to that, to follow those practices, like to get them up to speed quickly to be following those practices?
Yeah.
What you can do is to enable VS Code to check in itself with a video not necessarily.
Yeah.
You can turn that on and that gives you immediate feedback.
Yeah. If you use the PowerShell extension for VS Code, it integrates with PSScriptAnalyzer these days. And then it will automatically tell you, hey, you're using aliases here. And I believe I can actually show you. Here we go. Stand there, you get a light bulb, replace for each object. Click. If you're like, I'm a PowerSheller, I don't like to click. Stand there, Control Enter, go. Alt Enter. Shift Enter? No? I've been using Visual Studio too much. There is a shortcut for that where you can use it through the keyboard. Control dot? No actions available. That sucks. No, it doesn't see it as a fault anymore.
It's like you pounded on me, they're like, fine, I'll stop.
There we go. Control Enter. Nope. Alt Enter. Nope. Shift Enter. No. Control Space? No. There is one for that.
The answer to your question, Matthew, is you include the unit tests that you run in the repository and provide documentation for people running it, and maybe put in commit gates that pull requests.
Yeah. In general, I've got a script like run tests.ps1 in this code, and then I can run it locally and it does the testing, but also in the pipeline I just execute that script. Then I've got the exact same approach locally and in the pipeline. Oh, apparently Rob is doing stuff about that. So thank you.